Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopika Navarama Girivaradari. Jaya Gopika Navarama Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Thank you so much for joining the Srimad Bhagavatam class this morning. We will just start with chanting the verse. We won't do call and response. We'll just chant the verse, read the translation, and read the purport. So we are reading today from 10:13:53. Do people have it on their phones? Could we do call and response or? Okay, we'll just chant it. Okay. Kala svabhava samskara kama karma gunadipi swamahi dvashtamahi bir murti madbir upashitaha. Kala svabhava samskara kama karma gunadipi swamahi dvashtamahi bir murti madbir upashitaha. Synonyms. Kala, by the time factor. Svabhava, own nature. Samskara, reformation. Karma, desire. Karma, fruitive action. Guna, the three modes of material nature. Adibhi, and by others. Swa mahi dvashtamahi Swamahi dvashtamahi, whose own independence was subordinate to the potency of the Lord. Murti madbihi, possessing form. Upashita, were being worshipped. Translation and a long purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Then Lord Brahma. So what is just for a little review? What is he's about to see something? What has Lord Brahma been witnessing the last couple of verses?
The Vishnu forms.
Yes. So we're continuing from that. So Adi Pushpa said he's been seeing the Vishnu forms. Then Lord Brahma saw that Kala, the time factor, Svabhava, one's own nature by association, Samskara, reformation, Kama, desire, Karma, fruitive activity, and the gunas, the three modes of material nature, their own independence being completely subordinate to the potency of the Lord, had all actually, I added actually, taken forms and were also worshiping those Vishnu Murtis. So before we go into the purport, it's better to do the purport and the prayers first. Purport. No one but Vishnu has any independence. If we develop consciousness of this fact, then we are in actual Krishna consciousness. We should always remember that Krishna is the only supreme master and that everyone else is, yes, his servant. Ikala Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabhabritya. Be one, even Narayana, who is actually an expansion of Krishna, or Lord Shiva. Everyone is subordinate to Krishna. Even Narayana, who is Krishna, is subordinate to Krishna. Even Baladev, who is Baladev? First expansion of Krishna, and his brother is subordinate to Krishna. This is a fact. Ikale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabhabritya Yara Yache Nachaya Se Taiche Kare Nitya. One should understand that no one is independent, for everyone is part and parcel of Krishna and is acting and moving by the supreme desire of Krishna. This understanding, this consciousness is Krishna consciousness. I love it when Prabhupada gives definitions of Krishna consciousness. What is the definition of Krishna consciousness? No one is independent. Everything is part and parcel of Krishna and is acting and moving by the supreme desire of Krishna. This understanding of that fact that we are not independent and everything is moving by Krishna's desire, that is Krishna consciousness. So are things moving by our desire? No, things are moving by Krishna's desire. Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudradi Daivate Samadveneva Viksheta Sapasandi Bhaveduvam. A person, this is from Bhagavatam 10:14-14. A person who considers demigods like Brahma and Shiva to be on an equal level with Narayana must certainly be considered an offender. And isn't that one of the 10 offenses to the holy name, is considering demigods like Brahma or Lord Shiva to be equal to or independent of Lord Krishna? No one can compare to Narayana or Krishna. Krishna is Narayana and Narayana is also Krishna, where Krishna is the original Narayana. But as Prabhupada just said earlier in the purport, even Narayana is subordinate to Krishna. So Brahma himself addressed Krishna, Narayanas tvam nahi sarvadehinam. You are also Narayana. Indeed, you are the original Narayana. So Kala, or the time factor, has many assistants, such as Svabhava, Samskara, Kama, Karma, and Guna. So it was saying in this verse that all of these different aspects, Kala, Svabhava, Samskara, Kama, Karma, and Guna, were actually taking a personified form, because everything in Krishna consciousness is personal and real, and it becomes a person. So these things were actually taking a form, like they are a form. There is actually a person who is these aspects, right? And the Svabhava, Samskara, Kama, Karma, and Guna are the assistants to Kala, the time factor. And they've all taken a form, and they're all worshiping these Vishnu forms. So Svabhava, or one's own nature, this is it's not who we actually are, right? We are a soul, and we have a spiritual body, and we have a spiritual relationship with Krishna. But the Svabhava is the conditioned nature that our subtle body has in this life, in this material world. So it's what's in charge of our conditioned consciousness, the way that our false ego works, the way that our mind, our emotions, our subtle body works, which influences what our dharma is in this life and what our needs are in this life. So Svabhava, or one's own nature, is formed according to the association of the material qualities. Karanam guna sangosya sat ashad yoni janmashu. So basically also by the modes, right? The material quality. It's like, how are the modes working on us? Different people, and you can see this very clearly. You can also feel this when you meet someone for the first time. People say like, oh, I felt like that person's energy, or I felt like I got a certain vibe from a person, right? And this is what vibe we get is dependent upon, is this person more in the mode of goodness? Is this person more in the mode of passion? Is this person more in the mode of goodness? How are things interacting and influencing them? And of course, we can change. The practice of Krishna consciousness changes us and actually gets us above the material modes. But we all are born with certain influences of the modes upon us, and then what we choose to associate with in our life affects us. So Sat and Asat Svabhava, one's higher or lower nature, is formed by the association with different qualities, namely Sattvaguna, Rajaguna, and Tamaguna, right? So, we all have, they say, you all have the good dog and the bad dog, right? And then which one's going to win? The one that you feed it more. So we all actually have a choice. Am I going to succumb to my lower nature and allow these lower modes to influence me? Or am I going to associate with the Sattva Guna, and then for devotees, associate with Krishna to transcend the modes and let that influence me? So Prabhupada, he continues to say that in the purport, we should gradually come to the Sattva Guna, the mode of goodness, so that we may avoid the two lower gunas. Then he says how it can be done. He says this can be done if we regularly discuss Srimad Bhagavatam and hear about Krishna's activities. Nasta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. All the activities of Krishna described in Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning even with the pastimes concerning Putana, are transcendental. Therefore, by hearing and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, the Rajaguna and the Tamaguna, so the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance, are subdued so that only Sattvaguna remains. Then Rajaguna and Tamaguna cannot do us any harm. So how do we rise above Tamaguna and Rajaguna? By hearing and chanting about the Lord, by associating with the Lord, by serving the Lord, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So good news, everybody. Everybody's doing a great job this morning. We are rising above the modes. Everybody feel good? I feel good. We're doing it. We're rising above the modes, So we should actually also feel that as we practice Krishna consciousness. I'm sure maybe when we get to the discussion, we can actually, that would be a nice thing to share. When we get to the discussion, people can share how they have practically felt in their life transformed by this practice, how they have practically felt in their life that before starting Krishna consciousness, and we have some people who've always practiced Krishna consciousness, but for those of us who've joined, like, how do we feel now when we're practicing Krishna consciousness versus how we felt before practicing Krishna consciousness? So everyone think about that, and we'll discuss that. Varnashrama Dharma, therefore, is essential, for it can bring people to Sattva Guna. Tadaradas tamo bhava kamala badayaschaye. Tamaguna and Rajaguna increase lust and greed, which implicate a living entity in such a way that he must exist in this material world in many, many forms. That is very dangerous. One should therefore be brought to Sattva Guna by the establishment of Varnashrama Dharma, and should develop the Brahminical qualifications of being very neat and clean, rising early in the morning and seeing Mangalartik, and so on. In this way, one should stay in Sattva Guna, and then one cannot be influenced by Tamaguna and Rajaguna. Tada rajas tamo bhava kama labhadayaschaye cheta eter anavidam stitam sattve prasidati. The opportunity for this purification is the special feature of human life. In other lives, this is not possible. Such purification can be achieved very easily by Radha Krishna Bhajan, devotional service rendered to Radha and Krishna. And therefore, Narottam Das Thakur sings, Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gonane, indicating that unless one worships Radha Krishna, one's human form of life is wasted, meaningless. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayodhita Janayatya Shu Vairagyam. By engagement in the service of Vasudeva, one very quickly renounces material life. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement, for example, being engaged in Vasudeva Bhakti, very quickly come to the stage of being nice Vaishnavas. So much so that people are surprised that Mlechas and Yavanas, that's people who are like not even in the Varnashrama system, like lower than the caste system, are able to come to this stage. This is possible by Vasudeva Bhakti. But if we do not come to the stage of Sattva Guna in this human life, then as Narottam Das Thakur sings, Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gonanu, there is no profit in gaining this human form of life. And as we understand in our scriptures, many people have the idea, many people don't even have the idea of reincarnation. But then many people who do have the idea of reincarnation, they have the idea that once we get to the human form of life, we stay in the human form of life. But our Srimad Bhagavatam, it actually explains that's not the case. That if one doesn't use their human form of life to practice Krishna consciousness, or at least to come to the mode of goodness, you'll actually be degraded to the lower species of life and have to work yourself back up to the human form of life again. So it's this human form of life, like it's such a gift. Like, we should remind ourselves every single day, like, thank you, Krishna. Thank you so much for giving me this human form of life and the opportunity to meet devotees, the opportunity to associate with devotees, and the opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness, because this is so rare and so special. And so let us take advantage of it. And like Prabhupada is saying in the verse above, he's saying that 2 verses above, he said, by practicing Krishna consciousness, we go over these modes. And then in the next verse, in the next paragraph, he's saying Varnashrama is essential. And Prabhupada, when he started his movement, he started with just giving people, chanting, hearing, service. But at the later years of his life, he really was starting to really emphasize the need for Varnashrama Dharma. And Varnashrama Dharma is the Varnas and the ashramas. So the ashramas are the different stages of life, like brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi, which help us put us in actually a place of strength where we can, the brahmachari ashram is to practice celibacy, to practice being a student, right? So we go through that stage. Generally, people go through that when they're younger, but we do the best that we can. Not everyone has that opportunity if they join Krishna consciousness in later stages, which is fine. And the Grihastha ashram, it's all built as a structure in such a way to actually support our material needs and our development of spiritual consciousness. And the Varnas are the different classes, which is according to our nature, to help us use our dharma, use our propensities, engage our svabhava in Krishna service. So these things are giving people a framework where they can regulate their lives and practice principles to establish themselves in the sattva guna. So it's not the end all, it's a means in which to support our Krishna consciousness. Varnashrama Dharma, if we don't have Krishna consciousness, that's not the point. The point is, okay, I need to chant, I need to hear, I need to serve. How can I mold my life in such a way that supports my chanting and hearing and gradual development of Krishna consciousness, and actually a gradual letting go of my material desires, so that I can get to the point where I don't have any more material desires. I've worked them out and I just want pure devotional service. So, yes. So continuing from the purport, Sri Vigra Raghava Acharya comments that each of the items mentioned in the first half of this verse is a cause for material entanglement. Kala, or the time factor, agitates the modes of material nature, and svabhava is the result of association with these modes. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur says, Bhakta Sanivasha. If one associates with bhaktas, then one's svabhava or nature will change. It's very interesting. Our Krishna consciousness movement is meant to give, here's another definition of Krishna consciousness. He's giving us so many definitions today. Is meant to give people good association so that this change may take place. And we actually see by this method, people all over the world are gradually becoming devotees. So Mahatma Prabhu gave a retreat here a few weekends ago, and he was saying how to become enthusiastic in Krishna consciousness, because we must be enthusiastic in Krishna consciousness, right? We must be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. He said the quickest and easiest way is to associate with people who are enthusiastic, and then by associating with them, we will become enthusiastic. So basically, and we discussed this a lot recently in the past time of Nalakuvara and Manigriva, when they received the Lord's darshan and they received the mercy of the Lord and became pure devotees, they were only able to receive that because of the mercy of Narada Muni, who became their spiritual master. So bhakti causes bhakti. We're actually only able to receive bhakti by the mercy of one who has bhakti, by the mercy of a devotee. So the whole purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada, the pure devotee, he gave his association to so many people, and he is continuing to give us his association by his glorious purports and his murti form and the association of his disciples. And then when we associate with people that have associated with Prabhupada, we receive that, and then we can actually go and be association for others. And we shouldn't think, oh, I'm not a pure devotee, I can't give someone Krishna consciousness. No, we can. I actually one time asked Radhana Swami about this. I said to him, Maharaj, people are coming to me and they're asking me to be a mentor to them in Krishna consciousness. And I told him, I'm completely unqualified to do this service. I really don't know what to do, because they're coming to me, they're asking me to mentor them. And I feel like I'm not qualified. And he smiled and he said, the postal peon isn't qualified. The postal peon just delivers the message. So he said to me, just be a postal peon, just deliver the message. He said, you should do this service. And he said, but also remember, you're not a senior devotee. And if something comes up where you don't know the answer to, go to someone who is a senior devotee. And Prabhupada also said to all of his disciples, you should become guru. So it's actually our responsibility to accept what Srila Prabhupada has given us and give it to others. And that's actually real humility, when we realize that we're just the servant of Prabhupada. As for samskara or reformation, this is possible by good association. For by good association, one develops good habits, and habit becomes second nature, isn't it? They say you have to do things for a certain amount of days before it becomes a habit. So by being in the association of people who have good habits, you take on those good habits, and then that forms your character. Therefore, bhakti sanivasa, let people have the chance to live with bhaktas. Then their habits will change. And this is something we're constantly discussing, that for people who come to Krishna consciousness, how can we give them the opportunity to live with devotees? Because when you live with devotees and you see what devotees do, daily, day in, day out, you can really, you can see okay, even in the very subtle things. I was just talking to my friend yesterday, and he was saying that by growing up in a family of devotees, the subtle things that your parents do, they form your consciousness and your character. So all of us should give that chance to people. Maybe even if it's someone can't move into the temple, to invite devotees over to your house. We're starting a home program initiative at Bhakti Center, invite devotees over to your house and spend time with devotees, have them stay with you for a few days and see, or come stay at the temple for a few days and see what does a day look like for devotees. In the human form of life, one has this chance But as Narottam Das Thakur sings, Hari Hari Bifale Janama Ganinu, if one fails to take advantage of this opportunity, one's human life is wasted. We are therefore trying to save human society from degradation and actually elevate people to the highest nature. This is why Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is actually the highest welfare, because we know we can give people food, we can give people shelter, we can give people clothing, we can, find cures for diseases, all of these things. And those are all good things. We're not saying those are bad things. But actually, what we really need to do is to give people Krishna consciousness and save them. As for kama and karma, desires and activities, if one engages in devotional service, one develops a different nature than if one engages in activities of sense gratification. And of course, the result is also different. According to the association of different natures, one receives a particular type of body. Karanam guna sango siyasat ashad yoni janmasu. Therefore, we should always seek good association, the association of devotees. Then our life will be successful. A man is known by his company. If one has the chance to live in the good association of devotees, one is able to cultivate knowledge, and naturally one's character or nature will change for one's eternal benefit. It's funny that it's 7:49 and I'm just going to chant these prayers now, but we should still chant these prayers. Please join me. Om Agyanatimirandasya Jananjana Chalakam Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swaram Rupa Gadamayam Dadari Swaparandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yura Parakamam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vichakamitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Anamami Haripe Vanchakapatarubhascha Vipasandrive Evacha Paritanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo 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 Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vashachare Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Prabhupada, he's really saying that by living in the association of devotees, one's character or nature will change for one's eternal benefit. And I was just thinking, for those of us who have been fortunate to live with devotees, we can share our experience, how we change, how we change when we're in the association with devotees, how we change when we live with devotees, how our life changes. And then also I was thinking, for those who aren't living with devotees, there's ways to get the same benefit. I mentioned, coming and staying at the temple for a few days, or inviting devotees over to your home for a few days, or doing home programs with devotees, or going on retreats with devotees. That's another very powerful way. There's so many opportunities to go on retreats. with senior devotees, or to go on pilgrimage with the Bhakti Center or senior devotees. I'm just plugging the India pilgrimage, just kidding. But no, really, like, going to India. Leslie's smiling, like, you can share, isn't it, Leslie? Like, Leslie went on pilgrimage with Bhakti Center, and it was very transforming for her. Like, going on pilgrimage with devotees is a very transforming experience. So I highly recommend that everyone takes advantage of these opportunities to have that intense association with devotees, and then give other people that association. Invite other people into your home, make friends with other people. Friendship, relationship is so important. I was just discussing with a friend yesterday that Radhaswami really emphasizes in his presentation of Krishna consciousness, the importance of developing relationships and friendships. And through friendships, actually, people become devotees, people appreciate devotees, people appreciate Krishna, and we benefit so much. So I feel like, I know it's already 7:53, and we want to open it up for some discussion. But the last thing that I'll say is just, it's such a beautiful image that's created. Like this darshan that imagine this darshan that Lord Brahma is seeing. He's first, he went through this whole thing of thinking he stole the calves and the cowherd boys. And now he's having this vision, which is on the painting right back there, of Krishna showing Lord Brahma that all of the cowherd boys and calves are actually him. He's showing his Vishnu forms. And Lord Brahma is seeing how beautifully decorated these Lord Vishnu forms are. We discussed in past verses the Kastuba gem, the garland, his 4 arms carrying the 4 different items, beautiful effulgence crown on his head, dhoti, yellow dhoti. All these descriptions of the Lord are there. And then he's saying that all living entities from Lord Brahma down to the most insignificant ant are worshiping these Lord Vishnu forms. And then in this verse, he's actually saying that these different material energies, right? They're taking form and they're worshiping all these Vishnu forms. So how wonderful is Krishna that it's just showing us that everyone and everything is meant to worship Krishna, and that Krishna is above everything and is the source of everything, including, Narayana forms, that they all come from him. So now we will open it up. I give my humble obeisances to Arjuna Prabhu and Adi Purush Prabhu. I should have begged your blessings before speaking. So I just want to hear from you all. If anyone would like to share, we'll in person, we'll start with in person and then online. What is their experience of feeling the influence of the modes on them and feeling how that changes with the practice of Krishna consciousness? Anyone from the temple like to share? I prefer you'd like to share?
It's a little tricky because it's only 4 minutes and we like to hear other people get. Unfortunately, what's been happening lately is the curtain opens and the class gets cut off here, but everybody's been going into an afterglow mode. And there's amazing interactions and questions and comments and things going on later, which seems to give like a real life to the applied Krishna consciousness, that it's not just something academic. And I was just reading about Dhruva Maharaj. See, there's only a couple minutes. I even hesitate to speak, but he wanted to be the king. He wanted to be in a position of prominence and prestige and rulership and control and exalted. But then you're talking about the transformation that happened was when he saw Krishna after Narada Muni gave him the process of purification, then Krishna appeared to him when he became purified. And he just,
What king did you say?
Dhruva,
Oh,
and we all have this experience. And we realize that Krishna, wow, Krishna's been here all along. And I didn't notice him because I was so taking up all the space myself and absorbed in myself. And now here's the Lord, and he loves me. And as insignificant as I may be, going from a desire for prominence to being satisfied to be insignificant and little, that Krishna cares enough about us to include us and show us his affection and make us feel significant, even though we're very small. But we'd like to hear from everybody. I mean, I don't want to talk anymore, but yeah, there's a lot to share. Please, let's hear whatever everyone has to share. It's so wonderful to hear this. Gail jumped in yesterday, June drives. Community.
anyone else from the temple, or should we go to online? Okay, online, anyone like to share?
Online, please.
Hare Krishna.
Oh,
Matrix. Sorry. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol, William.
Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful class. Thank you for allowing me to be here among other devotees and association. I do feel a difference in the association of devotees. And I'd like to say that I've always wondered why
It's 8 hours.
during, did you just hear that? Siri tells me it's 8 hours. Okay, sorry. So you're gonna blow the horn now or?
You keep talking. You have to you keep talking.
Okay. So, Jesus. So, why is it so difficult when we're around association of devotees and then we're chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? Why is it so difficult? Why does the struggle become even more difficult sometimes? I mean, I feel it a lot. Like, so the book that Prabhupada wrote, Chant and Be Happy, right? Another devotee but told me, I think she was from India, she said, his original words were chant, struggle, and be happy. So I'm struggling, and thank you for your association. So we're getting ready for food distribution, Food for Life today. Anyone interested in coming, join us in the association of other devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, William, for sharing that. Yeah, it's like you're sharing so vulnerably that it's a struggle, and I appreciate that. And I never heard that before, that Prabhupada originally said chant and struggle and be happy. So I'd like to hear like a source for that.
Yeah, Dr. Mamta from India, Dr. Mamta.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not easy. We're conditioned. We're conditioned. Our natural true self loves Krishna and wants to chant 24/7. But just like a patient who has jaundice, the cure for jaundice is sugar candy. But for a patient that has jaundice, sugar candy, it actually tastes very bitter. But they have to eat it, and then gradually it becomes sweet. So we're in a diseased condition. We can understand that when it's difficult for us to chant, we can allow that to humble ourselves and realize we're in a diseased condition, but the medicine is chanting. And then gradually, the more that we chant, it will become sweet and we will become happy. So struggle first, happiness later. So keep struggling.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hey, Darshan. Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Champakalata Sakhi Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Beautiful class. Thank you. Keep struggling.
Is that Gajendra in a lake?
Oh, Krishna.
Okay, thank you very much. Time for takeaways. I'll start. She asked this question, how did you guys feel before Krishna consciousness and then after? Was there a difference? And I was thinking, before bhakti, I didn't even know I was under something, under the modes. I thought being depressed, being confused, being wild was normal. Didn't even know. So by Krishna's grace, now I can feel the modes. So that's my takeaway. So let's open it up. Who wants to share? Rich Bhakti, we like your mittens. Very cute. Okay, Adi's coming in. What did you say? Adi Purusha Prabhu tuning in from the hallway. Oh. Adi, you need to connect to audio. Connect to audio. Audio. All right. Okay, now unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Adi Purusha Prabhu.
Looks like he's frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
He's in ecstasy. Unmute yourself. Adi, unmute yourself.
Yeah. Just asking if anybody else is still talking.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's share. Time to reflect. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Okay.
Get the worst part out of the way. So I was just gonna say,
Okay.
I've never been to India. I've never spent a night in an ashram, and I can't even fathom Brahma's darshan of personified time, karma, kama, guna. My vision is far too mundane to even begin to imagine that. But the darshan, I was this is just a little private confession. The darshan I take of each one of you every day. That's my little home program. And every day before this class, I imagine each and every one of us collectively and individually just chanting together. And I bow to each and every one of you. And thank you for your example and for your association. And I'm just eternally indebted to any one of you. And if any one of you ever wants to come up to freezing cold Maine, spend a couple of nights in this house I'm borrowing from Krishna and show me how a devotee lives, I'd be fascinated to know, because I have no clue. But I'm in eternal admiration of all of you. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, Rich. We love you. Stay warm. You chanting those mittens? You have beads in there?
I keep my hand in my pocket
Okay.
and let these sort of dangle out.
All right. Thank you. So who wants to go next? Let's do it. Bhima Prabhu, don't pretend that you're shy. Come on. Now you're muted, Prabhu. Yeah.
Prabhu, I came late to class, so I would like to hear what other people have
No,
to
you
say.
heard the best part of it. You heard William's question and the answer and the struggle.
Yeah.
You heard the best part
If
of the
you're not
class.
struggling, you're an illusion. That's all there is to it. Because Krishna is always going to place a struggle. Otherwise, how do we get purified? The heat gets turned up, the dross gets burned out of the gold, or out of the gold. And the heat has to be, the blacksmith applies the billows to heat the iron in order so that the horseshoe becomes malleable. And that's so malleable, it becomes soft as butter. And when it becomes soft as butter, Krishna steals your heart. So if you're not struggling, if things are going easy, that you should be fearful, because that means you're either not trying hard enough and not taking on. Prabhupada said the amount of responsibility a devotee takes on is the intensity of the responsibility that the devotee takes on is equal to the amount of advancement that he or she will make. So if we are having an easy time of it, know that you are unaware of Maya sneaking up behind you. So anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. So chant, dance, feast, and struggle. I'm gonna add that. And surrender. Yeah, if there's no struggle, how are we gonna surrender? There's nothing to learn, nothing to overcome. Yeah, Bhima Prabhu, nice, thank you. Who's next? Okay, Adi. Adi is tuning in. Let's see. Connect to audio. You're not connected to audio. Okay, now you are. Now talk. Adi Purusha Prabhu, talk. Unmute yourself first.
Yeah, we had to exit the temple room and get in the elevator, get the vehicle, and I have to stop on 3rd Street. We're cooking for the homeless. And I heard a little bit of Richard's share, but I love to hear the people jumping in and hear the realizations, hear their angles of vision, because we all have a piece of the puzzle to contribute. And it's a community, it's relationships. And when we hear from each other, we get to know each other better and encourage each other and inspire each other, chastise each other. And I'm sorry I didn't hear what everybody said, because we had to turn off the phone temporarily there.
Rich says he's bowing down to you.
Hare Krishna. Well, I heard him say, I've never been on pilgrimage. I never stayed in the temple. I've never gone on a retreat. But, we do have this incredible mystical, digital, whatever you call it, online communication. And it's just as real as anything else, I love hearing from Jamuna Jaya every day. I mean, it's just like a shot in the arm, to see that beautiful smile and hear her laughing, and hear from Gail. Gail asked a wonderful question yesterday. So, please continue that. And I'm trying to encourage them to not have, 3 verses or big long purports. Just talk a little bit and then open it up and let's hear from each other. And before the class, and because what you're doing is turning 25 people into wallpaper. Whoever's out online doesn't get a chance to contribute and hear from each other. But anyway, that's just one.
All right, we're doing our best under the circumstances.
Yeah, we're doing our best.
Thank you.
But we
Amrita
recommend-
Kishore, did you hear that? Where's your piece of the puzzle? Come on, unmute yourself and contribute. Amrita Kishore Didi, come on. Do it.
I have nothing to contribute.
And then say how wonderful is Krishna.
What?
Then say how wonderful is Krishna.
How wonderful is Krishna.
Nice.
I am grateful for this daily sangha.
Yeah, Amrita Kishore, you're so steady. Thank you so much. Very inspiring.
I'm not that steady, but yeah, I think co-hosting gave me the accountability of showing up.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the extent to which you've advanced in Krishna
I'm
consciousness, right?
grateful.
I just told. Sundaranandaji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I was going to say Amrit Kishori, when I saw her thing, I didn't know whether she was like at the Bhakti Center or her home, because her home looks like a huge temple. I'm guessing that's her home. It looks different. That's beautiful.
Right now, you mean?
Yeah.
This is my home.
Yeah. So I was
Yes.
saying
Everything
it's hard
else
to make out.
behind the camera is a mess. So that's why I'm sitting here.
Smart. Yeah, but so inspiring. Yeah, and also I wanted to say that, before, as regards to your question, Anand Bihari, about, before and after, I guess before I used to have these, I wouldn't say, sleepless nights, but I used to wonder, like, what's out there, like, where are we going? What's our purpose in life? Not knowing that that's what I was trying to figure out. And after coming in contact with the devotees and Srila Prabhupada's purpose and lectures, I guess at least we have a path ahead. I know there's miles to go, but at least we have a path, so it's kind of more comforting. and knowing that, we're on the right path, and that's all that matters, right? Sometimes you just want to know that you're doing the right things in life. So I guess that's comforting. And thanks to everyone here. I agree with Rich and everyone else, William and everyone else who spoke and said, this is a great Sangha we have. And of course, Adi Purush Prabhu's leadership. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
And Purusha Prabhu, see, you're a leader. Thank you for your leadership and for your stewardship. Jeffrey Eckler, it's your turn. What's your takeaway?
Hare Krishna. So I was thinking that Brahma is bewildered and he sees the cowherd boys and believes that they are the cowherd boys that they always were. And thinking about it, like from the perspective of creator and how much attention to detail and absolute obsession with your subject you would have to have in order to make a perfect copy that even a demigod would not be able to tell the difference. And that's the kind of love that Krishna has for his devotee. And then to bewilder a demigod with those expansions, and then to reveal that they are as regal as a Vishnu expansion. And at that moment to kind of shatter Brahma's conception of what he understands, and then to further it and show him that not only were those cowherd boys an expansion of myself, but demigods just like yourself worship me. And then to realize that all of that is coming from that sweet little boy standing to the side. And then that makes me think in terms of like Krishna consciousness, like the point that you made about being able to see the gunas, or being more aware of how we speak to other people, or the simple kind of pragmatic ways that we apply this in our life, really being the result of accepting our bewilderment and kind of seeing our own bewilderment and still loving ourselves and everyone around us, even though it's there. So that's my reflection. Hare Krishna.
Wow, that was a mic drop. You're a thinking, Jeffrey Eckler. You're a great thinker. Wow, check it out. Wow, I'm impressed.
Can I just say what? Hare.
Say it, William.
We look like the Brady Bunch. You ever see like the Brady Bunch, the Happy Family?
Who looks? I look like that?
Like, I don't know, on my computer, I see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. The Brady Bunch.
Oh,
All right, the Brady Bunch. So let's ask one more time. Who else wants to share? If not today, share tomorrow. But don't drop out. Srimad Bhagavatam never stops. Devotees Association never ends. So thank you very much for your association, dear devotees. Don't lose it, and come back tomorrow. Hare Krishna.